Welcome back to No Huddle, everyone, and welcome to my Week 12 NFL predictions. After going a very good 12-3 last week, one of my better weeks of the whole season, we improved to 106-58. We got 14 games to cover. I don't think I'm going to reach the 120 mark, but can we at least reach 115? I think that's definitely doable, so let's just get started. Starting with Thursday Night Football, tonight we got the Bills visiting the Houston Texans. The Bills are coming off of a victory at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Meanwhile, Houston, they got back to 500 after beating the Tennessee Titans. This is another trap alert game for Buffalo, as they are very susceptible to falling in games like this. But I'm still going to take the Bills to win. Just because I think I trust Josh Allen to do better against that Houston defense. We obviously saw last year them play in Houston, and Josh Allen had one of the worst games of his career since he became a superstar QB, went 9 of 30. I think he'll definitely play a lot better. I think James Cook being there is definitely going to help. And even if Davis Mills or Stroud plays, I know the Bills' defense is not very good, but the Texans don't really have the running game to really gash that Bills defense, similar to what Bijan, Achane, Henry, or even Sean Tucker did. I think if the Bills just play some safe football, Josh Allen doesn't make any stupid decisions, I think they're going to win very comfortably. The key players, like I said, I think it is James Cook for the Bills because he needs to alleviate the pressure off of Josh Allen, make it so he doesn't have to throw 50-plus times a game, so he doesn't have to try and play hero ball even at the start of the game. If James Cook can establish the running game, then I think they'll be very fine. Meanwhile, the Texans, they have to rely on old-ass Nick Chubb or whoever the hell is the Texans running back because, the way you beat the Bills is you dominate them on the ground. But personally, I don't see them doing very good in the running game, so I think the Bills are going to get another win. And now we got the Sunday afternoon slate. We already got one of the better matchups of the week. We got the Colts visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts, they were on the bye, but the last time we saw them, they prevailed in Germany against the Falcons. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they fell for the second straight time after losing to the Denver Broncos. This was a really hard game to predict because it feels unrealistic to think that the Chiefs are going to fall to 5-6. But I'm going to take the Colts. This is basically my history pick because, fun fact, Mahomes is 0-2 against the Colts in the regular season. He beat them in the 2018 divisional round, but apart from that, in 2019 and in 2022, he lost both times while not playing particularly great. I think the Colts are definitely equipped to beat the Chiefs because I think that their defense is still good enough to stop the Patrick Mahomes offense, which, to be honest, hasn't been all that threatening. And then, considering the Chiefs' defense was getting kind of gashed by Bo Nix, it's kind of hard to not see Jonathan Taylor just running all over them or Daniel Jones being able to play really well. I think that the Chiefs aren't that great at forcing turnovers either, so I personally don't think that Daniel Jones is going to have that bad of a game, and I think that the Chiefs, they're going to have an even deeper hole to get out of if they want to get into the playoffs. Key players, as always for the Colts, it is Jonathan Taylor because he's the start and the end for that offense. If he isn't efficient or if he just starts fumbling out of nowhere or if he just gets bottled up a lot and Daniel Jones has to win the game, you get a game like the Pittsburgh match where everything just goes to crap. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, I think it's their defense because I think their offense, you can basically put them as scoring 20 points. I think that's the default for them. But if their defense gets completely gashed and they allow 30 points and allow the Colts to completely control the game, then they're going to be in an even deeper hole. And personally, I think that Indy is going to prevail in Arrowhead. Now we got the Seahawks visiting the Tennessee Titans. The Seahawks, their winning streak got snapped at the hands of the Los Angeles Rams. Meanwhile, the Titans, their losing streak extended at the hands of the Houston Texans. I'm going to keep this very brief. I think the Seahawks are going to win very easily. Coming off a loss, I think they'll be very pissed off. And even though the Titans, yes, they fought against Houston, I think Seattle's a way better team. I think Sam Darnold's going to clean up his act a lot. I expect a good game from him. I think Jason's going to play well. I don't think the Titans are equipped to stop Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet. And again, even if they stop them from scoring, I personally don't trust Cam Ward to do well against the Seattle defense. So I don't really see a world in which Tennessee wins. Key players, I think it is JSN because he was kind of held to a subpar game by his standards this year against the Rams. So if he keeps playing the best receiver in the NFL, which he has been for this entire year, then the Seahawks are easily going to put up 30. Meanwhile, for the Titans, it is Cam Ward. You basically need him to have another performance against the Cardinals or basically just see the best game of his career if they want to have a chance at beating the playoff-bound Seattle Seahawks. But personally, I think Seattle bounces back. And now we got an NFC North matchup with the Vikings visiting the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings fell to another NFC North rival in the Bears. Meanwhile, the Giants, they prevailed in a last-minute fashion against the New York Giants. both of these teams, or at least the Packers, they are prone to losing to inferior teams. We saw them lose to the Panthers, and then we saw them lose to the Browns back in week 3. But personally, I don't see them losing this game. I think the Packers are going to win pretty convincingly, and it's purely because the Vikings offense is not equipped to just play complementary football. I can see the Vikings defense halting Jordan Love and company. I don't know if Josh Jacobs is playing actually, but I can see them containing Jordan Love in a way where they only score like 17 points or only 20 points. The problem is that I do not trust J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings offense to do anything against that Packers defense, especially at Lambeau. We know how accurate and turnover-prone J.J. McCarthy is, and if he's going to be under pressure by Gary, Quay Walker, and Micah Parsons and all those guys there, what the hell am I supposed to expect from him? I think this game should be very low scoring, but I think that the Packers just have more continuity, and I trust Jordan Love way more than I trust J.J. McCarthy. Our key players, like I said, I mentioned before, it's Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons, or I guess the Packers pass rush, because if they just force number 9, who is my key player for the Vikings, if they just force him to a bunch of mistakes and they limit him to being like 20 or 40 like he has been for like the last 2 games, then they're really going to have no issue and the offense is going to have no pressure. Meanwhile, if our favorite non-prime odd number, if he actually plays well, I mean, I guess he is decent on the road. We saw him beat the Bears and the Lions, so I guess he might be good against NFC North teams. So who knows? Maybe we actually see a decent game from him. But from what I've seen in the 5 or 4 games that he's played, I don't see a very good quarterback. Green Bay wins. Now we got the New York Jets up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Jets are coming off of a Thursday night loss to the Patriots. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they got what was, I'm pretty sure, their 4th straight win against the Cleveland Browns. If this matchup was like around 4 weeks ago when Lamar was hurt, this could be a close game between 2 bad teams, but the Ravens are a lot better, so I think they're going to easily win this game. I think Tyrod Taylor is actually going to start, so, I mean, who knows? There might actually be like a uncertainty factor. I don't think so. Like, the Ravens defense has played a lot better than like the first weeks where they're historically awful. I don't see Tyrod Taylor gashing them at all, and I think Lamar, like, after having a really bad game, I think he's due for a really good game because I don't expect him to have 2 bad games in a row. So, and again, like, I'm not picking Tyrod Taylor over Lamar Jackson. Like, what are we doing? Key players, it's the Jets defense because we saw that, like, against the Browns, I guess, in their 2nd straight win, they won because their defense was completely able to clamp up. And I guess their special teams also got some scores, so I guess throwing their special teams. Like, that's the only way that the Jets can win because their offense is just so bad. Meanwhile, if the Ravens defense, I think their secondary is key. Just because, like, you just have to stop Tyrod Taylor from throwing, like, 200 yards on you and then just let Lamar and Derrick Henry do its thing. They played really well against the Browns, so I think they'll have another good game, and I think the Ravens pick up consecutive win number 5. Now we got the Giants visiting the Detroit Lions. The Giants are coming off of a last-minute loss to the Green Bay Packers. Meanwhile, the Lions, they lost on Sunday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. A pissed-off Lions at home against a depleted Giants team. Give me Detroit all the way. This is the game that I expected. Like, for me, I expect it to be a blowout. I don't think this game is going to be close. Detroit, I'm pretty sure, is really good at winning after losing a game, and they're definitely pissed off. We saw how bad their offense was against Philly. I think they'll be very annoyed, and I think they're just going to pull out all the stops against New York. New York is not going to do anything considering Jameis Winston is going to start. That defense has actually been really good. The secondary of the Lions has been really good, so I actually expect Jameis Winston to turn it over multiple times. And, I mean, it's just the force of the Lions coming off a loss. It's unfortunate for New York, but I just don't see Detroit losing a second straight. Key players, I think it's the defensive line. The Giants basically have to replicate what Philly did in terms of getting pressure on Goff, even though they're not going to have a weather advantage. Like, the Eagles were able to get a lot of pressure on Goff with Jordan Davis, with Jalen Carter, with Jalen Phillips. They basically have to replicate that with Carter, Thibodeau, and Brian Burns. I don't really know what's the likelihood of that happening, considering it's in Detroit and not Philadelphia. Meanwhile, for the Lions, I think another way to alleviate pressure from Goff is to just let Jahmyr Gibbs run wild. We saw how good he played last week against Philadelphia, but if he plays better in the running game as well as a receiver, then the Lions' offense is going to be unlocked fully. I personally think that happens, and I think Detroit walks away with a convincing bounce-back victory. Now we got the Steelers visiting the Bears. The Steelers are coming off a win against the Bengals. Meanwhile, the Bears, they also won against the Minnesota Vikings. This is a complicated game because I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to play. It's either going to be him coming off a kind of a broken hand, I guess, or a broken wrist and his non-throwing hand, or Mason Rudolph. Either way, I think no matter who plays, I think the Bears are going to win. I think the Bears are in really, really hot form right now. And it's just like the Steelers, I don't really trust their offense. Sure, they had 34 points, but two of those touchdowns came from defensive plays. And I think that Caleb Williams, he hasn't been incredible, but I think he's going to protect the ball enough so that the Steelers won't be able to get those defensive scores. And it being in Chicago, I know Rodgers likes to play against the Bears, but this is, I think, like a new era. This isn't 5 years ago when Aaron Rodgers was on clearly a better team. I would argue the Bears are the better team. So I think that the Bears are going to play safe football, not let the defense force any turnovers. I think maybe the Bears defense can actually get some takeaways themselves. And I just see Chicago, because they're the hotter team, I think they're going to carry the momentum, and I think they'll be in first place in the NFC North if they win this. Key players, it's either the quarterback, it's either Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. I mean, Mason Rudolph, we saw him step in like 2023, and he actually played really well around this part of the season. He'll have to replicate that if he gets a start. Meanwhile, for the Bears, I think it's once again Colston Loveland, because he needs to become like a safety blanket for Caleb Williams. If he starts to get pressured by that defensive line from the Steelers, Caleb Williams needs to look at him and like be the guy. Colston Loveland needs to be the guy that like Caleb Williams trusts a lot. And to be able to pick up a key third down or a key touchdown or something like that, I think he'll play pretty well. And I think the Bears, they get revenge for all the torture that they endured from number 12. And now we got the Patriots visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Patriots, they beat the Jets on Thursday night. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they lost, like I mentioned earlier, against the Steelers. I'm going to keep this very short. The Patriots are going to win this game. No Jamar Chase. I'm pretty sure he's still suspended. His appeal was rejected, I think, after spitting on Jalen Ramsey. He's still an idiot for that. And I mean, what am I supposed to say? The Patriots are easily the better team. There's just another case of them facing a bad opponent, quote unquote. Yes, the schedule's hard. The schedule's really easy, but the Patriots are still a very good team. Drake May still plays great. And against that Bengals defense, it might actually get ugly. This might be the one other game that I expect to be a pretty big blowout. Key players, it's just Drake May. Obviously, like, what am I supposed to say? Like, is Drake May going to play bad against the Bengals defense after he's had basically a good game in every single game of the season? He's not going to fall off against the Bengals defense. Like, what are we doing? Meanwhile, for the Bengals, it is T. Higgins. With Jamar Chase being out, and I guess Yoshivas being the wide receiver 2 now, T. Higgins needs to step up and be the wide receiver 1. A lot of people say that if he was the wide receiver 1, he'd be one of the best receivers in the league. We need to see that. We need to see Joe Flacco. Flacco's probably going to feed him like 20 targets, so if he catches like all 20 of them, maybe they have a chance to keep it close, but I think New England overall dominates. Now we got the Browns playing the Raiders. Talk about a trash bowl here. The Browns are coming off a loss against the Baltimore Ravens in Shedeur Sanders' debut. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they also lost on Monday night against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's trash versus garbage here. I mean, both teams suck. But I can't believe I'm doing this for like the second time this whole season. I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns to win a football game. And that's because their defense is still really good. It's by far the best unit of the 4 units that the two teams have. Like, Myles Garrett is just going to be so good in my opinion. Max Crosby, yeah, he's also great. But like the Raiders offense wasn't able to do anything against the goddamn Cowboys defense. If you can't do that, now you got to go up against Myles Garrett and that Browns defense, which just made Lamar Jackson look pedestrian. For me, it's going to be scary hours. And like the Raiders defense, yeah, it's not great either. They got torched by Dak. And while I don't think Shadeur's going to play like Dak, like literally all Shedeur needs to do, he's my key player for the Browns. Like as long as he doesn't play like a high school quarterback, he'll be fine. Like I'm not asking for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, can you just throw for like 150, 1 touchdown, just don't turn the ball over and be relatively accurate? If he just does that, then I think the Browns are going to win very easily. Meanwhile, again, it's Brock Bowers, because the way you bring out the best of Geno Smith, which has been very rare this season, you just feed Brock Bowers a lot. So if he keeps playing like one of the best tight ends in the league, the Raiders offense might look passable. But even if he has a good game, I personally don't see the Raiders winning. Browns win in a battle of trash. Now we got the Jaguars visiting the Arizona Cardinals. The Jaguars are coming off a very dominant win against the Los Angeles Chargers. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, they lost like their billionth game in a row against the San Francisco 49ers. Both of these teams frustrate me a lot. I know, like, I'm very annoyed with the Cardinals, but I know the Jaguars can be very, very inconsistent. I'm going to try and not overthink it and just pick the Jaguars here just because I think they're the better team. They're riding off momentum of beating a very good Chargers team. The Cardinals are just not very good. Like, this result really could go either way. If the Cardinals win, I wouldn't be the most shocked, but I'm just going to trust the better team, and I think that the Jaguars, I just think they have the better defense, and I think that they're more equipped to stop the Jacoby Brissett-led offense. Key players, if Jacoby Brissett once again completes 47 passes and sets another NFL record and throws for 400 yards, I mean, he might actually play better than Trevor Lawrence. He might actually have a better game than him, so maybe they have a chance there. Meanwhile, if the Jaguars defense, if they just contain him like what they did to Justin Herbert, I expect them to contain Jacoby Brissett, considering they just contain one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I think the Jaguars will win, probably force a couple of turnovers, and I think ETN and Trevor Lawrence won't have that much pressure to outgun Jacoby Brissett. If Trevor Lawrence loses to the Cardinals, then that it might be time to move on. And now we got one of the games of the week. We got the Eagles visiting the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles are coming off of a Sunday night victory against the Detroit Lions. Meanwhile, the Cowboys also prevailed in primetime, but against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday night. This is a really, really hard game because it's basically Dallas's last hope at winning the division. If Philly wins this one, the NFC East will basically be on lock, and the streak of 21 years will finally be broken. So who am I picking? I'm picking Philadelphia because, once again, Philly is so good at making games ugly. And once again, if the game is made ugly, then Philly is going to win because the Dallas defense is still not very good, in my opinion. I think Dak is more susceptible to getting locked down by the Philly defense and losing because I think even if the Dallas defense locks up Philly's equipped to win without offensive greatness. We just saw them score 16 and 10 points in their last two games, and they won both. Also, just a little tidbit, the fact that the Eagles are wearing their Kelly green and they've never lost in those, that's just another thing to think about. I'm not really going to put that in my prediction, but I just think Philly's the better team. I think that Jalen Hurts is more prone to have a good offensive game against that Dallas defense, even though I think they'll be better than they were in week one. They also did play in week one and Philly won. I just don't know. I just see Philly winning because I think that they'll make the game incredibly sloppy once again, and I don't think Dallas is equipped to win any ugly game because I don't think they have the running game or defense to survive that. Key players, I think it's a quarterback matchup because we saw Jalen Hurts in their week one matchup. I think he played really, really well, was overall efficient passing and ran everywhere on the Cowboys defense. So if he has a similar game or an even better game, then I don't think Dallas is going to be able to outgun him. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott, we're going to have to see him have maybe the best game of his career. If he's able to torch Philly's defense and beat Philadelphia while scoring a bunch of points, then it might be time to put him back in the MVP conversation. I'm not going to lie. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think the Eagles put the clamps on the NFC East. Now we got the Falcons visiting the New Orleans Saints. Talk about a downgrade for a matchup. The Falcons are coming off of an overtime loss against the Carolina Panthers. Meanwhile, the Saints, they were on the bye, but they also they beat the Carolina Panthers, actually. I can't believe I'm saying this because I've been a guy who's hated the Saints the entire year. I'm going to pick them to win. Kirk Cousins is getting the start. Michael Penix is obviously out with his a billionth knee injury of his career. And I'm not going to lie, the Saints coming off a bye, Tyler Shuck, he played pretty well in his last two games. I just think he's going to play better because, again, I don't trust Kirk Cousins to come in and win. We saw him, every time we saw him play, he's looked more and more washed. I don't think he's going to be very good at the ripe age of 36 with an Achilles injury. I don't think he's going to play well. Bijan would have to run for 300 yards. And I don't know. I just think Tyler Shuck being at home, even without Rashid Shaheed, we saw him play pretty well, if I'm correct, against the Panthers. I just think he'll be able to play some complimentary football. This game will probably be very boring, but I think New Orleans is actually going to win. Key players, I think it's Drake London because we saw that he had a really good connection with Michael Penix. He needs to bring over that talent and apply it to Kirk Cousins as well. He needs to be an ultimate safety blanket. I expect Kirk Cousins to throw the ball to Drake London around 30 times this game, similar to Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase. So Drake London needs to look like one of the best receivers in the league, which I think he can. Meanwhile, if the Saints, it's Tyler Shuck. Am I going to be a Tyler Shuck believer? Probably not for the long term, but at least for this game, I still can't believe I'm saying this. It's a whole character arc for me. Let's go Saints. Let's go New Orleans. And now we got Sunday Night Football. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Los Angeles Rams, a really, really good NFC matchup. The Buccaneers are coming off what I believe is their second straight loss against the Buffalo Bills. Meanwhile, the Rams, they prevailed in last-second fashion against the Seattle Seahawks. This matchup does give me PTSD because of 2021. Damn you, Todd Bowles, and damn you, Bruce Arians. But that's besides the point. I'm taking the Rams in this one. I think they're the better team. I think the Buccaneers are just too riddled with injuries, and I don't see their secondary stopping Matthew Stafford. Stafford's coming off of a pretty bad game, but like, what's the likelihood of him having 2 bad games in a row? I personally don't see it. The Buccaneers secondary was absolutely torched by Josh Allen and company. So how are they not going to be torched by Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua? Like, that's just a recipe for disaster. And with all the injuries on the offensive side, I don't think Bucky Irving's going to play. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be too handicapped to be able to beat the Rams defense, which is still really good and they can get after you. So I just think that they'll turn the ball over from Baker 1 or 2 times, and I think they'll be one step ahead of Tampa Bay the entire time. It really sucks because this would see Tampa Bay falling to 6-5, which would be crazy. But with all the injuries, that's just how the season crumbles. Key players, I think it's a quarterback matchup because if Baker plays like he did at the beginning of the season where he was just scrambling out of nowhere, making tight window throws, has a good connection with Egukpa or whatever his name is, I keep butchering it, or Rachaad White maybe, he needs to also play well, or Sean Tucker, he needs help from one of his running backs. But if Baker plays like he did in the beginning of the season, I think they'll have a good chance of winning. Unfortunately, the key player for the Rams is Matthew Stafford, who is still an MVP caliber quarterback. And if he just keeps the ball and doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't give Baker any short fields, keeps being as efficient as he has been besides last week, then I think Los Angeles is going to win and be one step further into winning the NFC West. And ending with Monday Night Football, we got the Panthers visiting the San Francisco 49ers. This is one of the more interesting games of the week. The Panthers are coming off an overtime win against the Falcons. Meanwhile, the 49ers, they prevailed in dominant fashion against the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like you think this result is more conventional, but honestly, this is kind of a trap game alert for the 49ers. I'm still going to pick San Francisco in this one, but if the Panthers win, I wouldn't be all that shocked. The 49ers defense is riddled with injuries. We already know that. So it feels like Bryce Young might have a clean pocket to cook, and we saw him cook the Atlanta defense, and you could argue that maybe the San Francisco defense is weaker than Atlanta. So I think that's something to monitor. But overall, I just don't trust the Panthers defense against Brock Purdy, who's back, and I think he's going to play well. I think George Kittle's going to have a good game. And overall, Christian McCaffrey's just too dominant of a weapon for Carolina to contain. I expect him to play well as a receiver and as a runner, and I think the force of CMC, the white boy magic, is probably going to make them win. Although, again, this game will be closer than what people think. Key players, I think it's Bryce Young, because if he can keep some level of consistency, we know that Bryce Young is very prone to having a good game and following it up with a very bad game. So I just want to see more consistency from him. Maybe not 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but can you at least throw for 250 and 3 touchdowns with no picks or no bad turnovers? If he has another good game, then they have a really, really good chance of winning. Meanwhile, for San Fran, it's once again Christian McCaffrey. He's been so good this year. He's on pace for another 1,000 season, which is absolutely ludicrous. He's just such an engine. He's such a weapon. Christian McCaffrey, Hall of Fame level player in my opinion. I think he'll play like a Hall of Famer today or on Monday night, and I think San Fran will get their 8th or 7th win of the entire season. And that is it for Week 12. A lot of weird matchups, a lot of unpredictable games, but I think I'll do well in my predictions, similar to last week. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, so the matchups are getting more and more intense. But if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and please like, as any support is truly appreciated. And I'll see you guys next week on Thanksgiving week for the end of Week 12.